The Special Task Force is one of the best trained and most experienced elite police units in the world. The men are the pride of the South African police force, and hundreds apply every year. But how do you prove you are good enough to join them? These regular policemen are trying to join the unit. Today is the end of Phase 1, an intense 4 weeks of various stamina-building exercises.
Stand up straight. Stand up straight. Lift up your arm. Not like that. Huh? Pull it through.
Number 25. Kom, krijg bloemen in je gat, kom!
Warren Morris has left Pretoria and is one of the course instructors.
Get this, you're wasting time.
Out of 350 applicants, just these 21 men remain.
Why, number 6, do you have a water bottle on your hip? Why? Why?
No water is allowed to be carried, as now the recruits must drink only when ordered to. Today is a make-or-break firearms test, using live rounds.
This is your last chance. Your last chance, a third chance. You can't believe it, but yes, you get a third chance. You fail, you fail. All right, next. Go!
It isn't much better on the next range over.
Maar because ek weet nie wat jy doen nie. Daai plaas staan oop en bloot. Hy staan klip en 7 meter van hier af en skiet die boer op. Ja.
Close that, you.
Yeah, waiting for you.
Back at the training camp, and 3 are told they have failed the firearms test and are going home. Now only 18 remain. The next phase has been nicknamed Fussbait, Afrikaans for to bite down hard and never give up. The recruits have no idea that for the next 86 hours they will be allowed no food, no sleep, and be subjected to almost continuous marching.
This is a night march. It's basically to test stamina and endurance, between 30 and 40 kilometers that they will cover. They're carrying at the moment a relatively lightweight rucksack and a rifle.
But 4 hours into the march, the light rucksacks are swapped for a chunk of rail track, chain and ball. The combined weight is 50 kilos. It's been specifically designed to be impossible to comfortably carry. They will have to walk with this weight for 8 hours. As dawn breaks, the men have walked for 40 kilometers. The aim is to test the recruits' resistance to pain and frustration. Despite the extreme fitness of all the recruits, for one of them it has already become too much, and he's been taken off the course. The recruits immediately move on to an obstacle course from hell. Live ammunition is used at all times. This phase of Fussbait is not only a physical test, but also a mental probe to expose all their fears. They must conquer their fear of heights and not freeze or panic under fire.
Stop fucking it all and get down!
By now totally exhausted, the last hurdle to cross on the obstacle course is a swim across an overflowing dam. Once again, different levels of fear are tested. As day 2 draws to an end, the instructors relax back at training camp. The recruits, however, must endure the 40-kilometer march back from the dam. Arriving at the camp, there's no let-up. They're made to stay awake by making farmyard noises. An hour later, they're back on the march again, this time for 70 kilometers. The next morning, and the men haven't slept or eaten for 56 hours. They arrive just in time for breakfast. As the instructors tuck in, the recruits sit and watch.
Nice.
One instructor decides to spoil the recruits with a lamb chop. That's one piece of meat shared between 17 men. After a few minutes rest, the men continue on.
No, I don't feel sorry for them. I've got a sense of understanding. I know what they're going through. And it gives you a sense of pride because you know that they are giving their best and going through hell just to get what we've got already.
At dawn, the instructors have their hands full, keeping the 17 awake.
Hey! What the?
The recruits have now had no sleep for 80 hours. Advanced sleep deprivation is an essential test. Because of their specialist role, the task force often work for several days without a break. For the repeat sleep offender, instructors wedge a sharpened stick under his nose. The recruits limp back to base with their spirits slightly lifted as they sense their ordeal is over. The 17 have covered 200 kilometers and have not slept or eaten in 4 days.
Congratulations, you have passed the second phase. It was called frostbite. Into the dam, all of you. Now!
These men still have another 6 months of rigorous selection to go. They can fail at any time. But for the men already in the task force, the work continues.
Hey!